The massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber slammed shut with a sound that echoed through the station. Commander Jake Morrison stood in the hallway, his hands clenched into fists. Behind those doors, 12 alien species had just voted to throw humanity out of the galaxy's most powerful organization. Well, that went exactly as expected, said Dr. Lisa Chen, adjusting her glasses as she walked beside Morrison. Her voice was calm, but Morrison could see the anger in her eyes. The vote had been unanimous. 12-0. Not a single species had spoken up for humanity. Morrison thought back to the meeting that had just ended. Ambassador Zethkar, the tall reptilian creature who led the council, had read the charges against humanity like he was announcing a grocery list. Violation of the civilized warfare protocols. Refusal to limit military expansion. Use of banned weapons in conflicts with the Reaper pirates. Each charge had made Morrison want to laugh. The aliens called human tactics barbaric because humans actually fought to win. When pirates attacked human colonies, the human fleet didn't send formal challenges or fight honorable duels. They hunted down every single pirate ship and destroyed them completely. The Zephyrians, with their bright blue skin and proud attitudes, had called human warfare disgusting. They preferred their ancient tradition of single-ship duels where both sides followed rules that were thousands of years old. The Korthax, giant creatures that looked like walking mountains, agreed that humans were too violent. This came from a species that settled disputes by having their strongest warriors fight to the death. The Mindari, the telepathic aliens with large heads and no hair, had tried to read Morrison's thoughts during the trial. They gave up quickly and looked disturbed. Morrison knew why. Human minds were messy, chaotic places that telepaths found uncomfortable to explore. 50 years, Morrison said as they walked toward the docking bay. 50 years we tried to work with them. They never wanted us to succeed, Lisa replied. They wanted us to be their pet humans, sit quietly, follow their rules, and be grateful for the chance to clean up their messes. Morrison nodded. That was exactly what had happened. For 50 years, humanity had been given the worst jobs in council space. When pirates attacked trade routes, they sent humans to deal with them. When new species caused trouble, humans were told to handle it. When dangerous missions needed doing, humans got the call. And humans had done every job perfectly. Too perfectly, it turned out. The other species had started to worry. Humans solved problems too quickly. They adapted too fast. They came up with new ideas that made the older species uncomfortable. When the council said humans could only build certain types of ships, humans found ways to make those ships better than anything the aliens had. Commander Morrison, a voice called from behind them. Morrison turned to see Captain Tony Mitchell jogging to catch up. Mitchell was young for a starship captain, but he had proven himself in dozens of battles against pirates and hostile aliens. The fleet is ready to depart, sir, Mitchell reported. All ships are loaded and waiting for your orders. Morrison looked around the station one last time. This place had been humanity's gateway to the galaxy. Now it felt like a prison they were finally escaping. Send a message to all ships, Morrison said. We leave in 1 hour. As they reached the human section of the station, Morrison saw crowds of aliens watching them go. Some looked happy to see humans leaving. Others seemed worried. A few looked confused, like they couldn't understand why this was happening. The human section was busy with people packing up their belongings. Diplomats, scientists, military officers, and civilian workers all moved with purpose. Morrison was proud to see that no one looked defeated. If anything, people seemed excited. Sir, Lisa said quietly. Should we tell them about the colonies? Morrison shook his head. Not yet. Let them think they know everything about us. The truth was that humanity had been preparing for this day for decades. While the Council thought they knew about every human world and ship, they were wrong. Far beyond the galaxy's edge, in areas the Council had never explored, humanity had built something the aliens couldn't imagine. Morrison's communicator buzzed. Admiral Susan Hayes appeared on the small screen. She was calling from one of the secret colonies, thousands of light years away from Council space. Jake, she said, I'm watching the news feeds. How did it go? Exactly as planned, Morrison replied. They bought everything we sold them. Hayes smiled. Good. Dr. Webb's people are ready on this end. The new ships are performing better than expected. How many do we have now? More than enough, Hayes said. And Jake? They have no idea what's coming. Morrison ended the call and continued walking toward the docking bay. Around him, the last humans in Council space were preparing to leave. But Morrison knew this wasn't an ending. It was a beginning. At the docking bay, Morrison found his ship, the Independence. It was a good ship, but nothing special by alien standards. The Council had always limited what kind of ships humans could build. Now those limits were gone. "All personnel aboard, sir," reported Captain Rodriguez, Morrison's second-in-command. "We're ready to depart." Morrison walked to the bridge and took his seat. Through the main screen, he could see the Council station growing smaller as his ship moved away. In a few hours, they would be beyond Council space entirely. "Sir," Rodriguez said, "incoming message from the Council station." "Put it through," Morrison replied. Ambassador Zethkar appeared on the screen. The reptilian alien looked pleased with himself. "Commander Morrison, I wanted to personally wish you a safe journey. I hope humanity will learn from this experience and perhaps in a few centuries, be ready to rejoin civilized society." Morrison stood up slowly. "Ambassador, you've made a mistake today. You think you're getting rid of a problem. You have no idea what you've actually done." Zethkar laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. "Commander, humanity is 50 years old in galactic terms. You are children playing with toys you don't understand. The Council has maintained peace for thousands of years. We will continue to do so long after your species is forgotten." "We'll see," Morrison said calmly. "Good luck, Ambassador. You're going to need it." Morrison cut the connection and turned to his crew. "Set course for the rendezvous point. It's time to go home." As the human fleet jumped to hyperspace, Morrison allowed himself a small smile. The Council thought they had won. They thought humans were just another failed species, too violent and unpredictable to be part of their perfect galaxy. They had no idea that humanity had been waiting for this moment for decades. They had no idea what humans had built in the darkness beyond their borders. And they definitely had no idea what was coming for them. The real war was about to begin. 6 months had passed since the human fleet left Council space. In the grand chambers where the Galactic Council met, the alien leaders felt quite pleased with themselves. The galaxy seemed more peaceful without humans causing trouble. Ambassador Zethkar was reviewing reports from across Council territory. Trade was flowing smoothly. The ancient conflicts between species were following their traditional patterns. The Zephyrians and Korthax were having their usual border disputes, but they fought with honor and followed the old rules. Everything was as it should be. "Any word from the human colonies?" asked Ambassador Thys, a tall creature with gray skin and large black eyes. Her species, the Vortani, had always been curious about other races. "Nothing significant," Zethkar replied. "Our scouts report that most human worlds are quiet. Some have gone completely dark, but that's probably just them turning inward after their failure here." Zethkar didn't mention that several scout ships had disappeared near human space, probably mechanical failures or accidents. Certainly nothing to worry about. Far beyond the galaxy's edge, in a place the Council had never explored, the truth was very different. The Omega colony hung in space around a dead star, hidden by fields that made it invisible to any scan the Council species knew about. Admiral Susan Hayes stood in the command center, watching dozens of screens that showed construction projects across multiple star systems. What she saw would have terrified the Council if they could have witnessed it. "How many ships do we have operational now?" Hayes asked Colonel Ryan Turner, who was studying a tablet full of numbers. 537 of the new class, Turner replied. "Dr. Webb's people finished the latest batch yesterday. They're already running combat simulations." Hayes nodded. 500 ships that were completely unlike anything the Council had ever seen. Ships that used technology the aliens couldn't even imagine. And the other projects? The weapon platforms are online. The communication network is ready. The special operations teams have finished training. Turner paused. "Admiral, we could begin operations tomorrow if you gave the order." "Not yet," Hayes said. "We stick to the timeline. Let the Council get comfortable first." Across the colony, Dr. Marcus Webb was putting the finishing touches on humanity's greatest secret. The workshop where he worked was filled with devices that broke every law of physics the Council thought they understood. "The quantum tunneling drives are ready," Webb told his assistant, Engineer Kelly Davis. "These new ships can jump anywhere in the galaxy instantly. No hyperspace lanes, no navigation computers. Just point and go." Kelly looked at the sleek new ship taking shape in the construction bay. It was beautiful in a deadly way, like a sword made of starlight. "How fast can they go in normal space?" "Fast enough that alien sensors can't track them," Webb replied. "Their weapons adapt to whatever they're fighting. Their armor learns from every attack. And the best part? They can repair themselves during battle." Kelly shook her head in amazement. "The Council has no idea what we've been building out here." "That was the point," Webb said. For 50 years, we showed them exactly what they expected to see. Humans struggling to keep up with alien technology, humans following their rules and limitations. Meanwhile, we were building this. The truth was that humanity had never stopped advancing. While the Council thought they were controlling human development, human scientists had been working in secret. Every alien technology they encountered was studied, improved, and combined with human innovations. The Council had made a critical mistake. They thought humans were just another species that would fit into their ancient patterns. They didn't understand that humans were different. Humans adapted, humans learned, and humans never forgot an insult. Captain Alex Rodriguez was running combat drills with his new ship, the Vengeance. The ship's artificial intelligence was learning from every simulation, getting better with each practice battle. Computer, show me the latest Council fleet positions, Rodriguez commanded. A holographic map appeared, showing the locations of every major alien military force. The information was gathered by human spy networks that had been operating for decades. The Council had never suspected that their cleaning staff, maintenance workers, and minor diplomats were all reporting back to human intelligence. Impressive, said Captain Sarah Lopez, who was visiting from her own ship. They really have no idea we're watching them. It gets better, Rodriguez replied. Computer, show Lopez the communication intercepts. The hologram changed to show thousands of alien messages that human computers had decoded. Military plans, trade routes, diplomatic secrets. Humanity knew everything the Council was thinking. We've been reading their mail for 30 years, Rodriguez explained. Every time they upgraded their encryption, our computers cracked it within days. They think their communications are secure, but we hear every word. Lopez whistled in appreciation. When Admiral Morrison gives the word, this is going to be the shortest war in galactic history. That's the idea, Rodriguez said. The Council judges military strength by the size of fleets and the power of weapons. They don't understand that information is the greatest weapon of all. Back on the Omega colony, Admiral Hayes was meeting with the other human commanders. The room was filled with officers who had been planning this moment for decades. Status report, Hayes said as she took her seat. All fleets are ready, reported General Patricia Stone. We have forces positioned at every major Council system. They still don't know we're there. Intelligence networks? Operating perfectly, said Captain Lauren Brooks. We know the location of every Council ship, every major installation, every important leader. We also know about their secret projects and hidden bases. Special operations? Colonel Turner smiled grimly. My teams are already in position on 12 worlds. When you give the word, we can shut down their major shipyards, communication centers, and command posts within hours. Hayes nodded. Everything was proceeding according to plan. The plan that had been developed the moment humanity first encountered the Galactic Council 50 years ago. The truth was that humans had never intended to stay in the Council permanently. They had joined to learn about alien technology, map their territories, and understand their weaknesses. Every year of peaceful cooperation had been preparation for this moment. Dr. Webb, how are the new weapons performing? Hayes asked. Better than expected, Webb replied via communication link from his laboratory. The plasma cannons can punch through any known armor. The gravity weapons can tear ships apart from the inside, and the quantum disruptors can shut down alien technology completely. Any chance the aliens could develop countermeasures? Webb laughed. Admiral, they don't even understand how these weapons work. They're still using technology that's thousands of years old. They might as well try to fight lasers with swords. Hayes stood up and walked to the window that looked out over the construction yards. Hundreds of new ships were taking shape, each one capable of destroying entire alien fleets. The Council made their choice 6 months ago, she said. They decided humans were too dangerous to be allowed in their galaxy. They were right about one thing. We are dangerous, but they made the mistake of thinking that would make us weaker. She turned back to her officers. Instead, they've made us stronger. They've given us the motivation we needed to stop holding back. For 50 years, we pretended to be less than we were. Now we can show them what humanity is really capable of. When do we begin? Asked General Stone. Hayes smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. Soon. Let them enjoy their false peace a little longer. When we move, I want it to be completely unexpected. I want them to realize that everything they thought they knew about humans was a lie. The meeting ended and the officers returned to their duties. Across the hidden human colonies, millions of people were preparing for war. But this wouldn't be the kind of war the Council expected. This would be war fought the human way, with intelligence, innovation, and absolute determination to win. The Council had dismissed humanity as a minor threat. Soon they would learn that this had been the greatest mistake in galactic history. 1 year after humanity's expulsion from the Galactic Council, the first shot of the new war was fired in a system the aliens called Korath 4. It was supposed to be a routine patrol for the Zephyrian fleet. Captain Vexitar commanded a squadron of 6 Zephyrian warships. His species had been the military backbone of the Council for 3,000 years. They were proud warriors who followed ancient codes of honor in battle. Vexitar had fought pirates, rebels, and hostile aliens across half the galaxy. He had never lost a battle. "Captain," reported his sensor officer, "we're detecting unknown ships at the edge of the system." Vexitar studied the readings on his command screen. 3 ships moving in formation toward the inner planets. The design was unfamiliar, but something about their energy signatures seemed familiar. "Human ships," Vexitar said with disgust. "What are they doing in this system?" According to Council records, humans had been banned from this region after their expulsion. If they were here, they were violating galactic law. Perfect reason to destroy them and send a message to the rest of humanity. "Signal the fleet," Vexitar ordered. "We will teach these humans their place." The Zephyrian ships moved to intercept, following their traditional battle formation. Vexitar opened a communication channel to the human vessels. "Human ships, you are in violation of Council law. Surrender immediately or be destroyed." The response surprised him. Instead of fear or anger, the human voice sounded almost amused. "Zephyrian ships, this is Captain Alex Rodriguez of the human vessel Vengeance. You are ordered to leave this system immediately." Vexitar couldn't believe what he was hearing. 3 human ships were ordering 6 Zephyrian warships to retreat? The arrogance was incredible. "Human, you clearly don't understand your situation," Vexitar replied. "You are outnumbered and outgunned. Your primitive ships are no match for Zephyrian military technology." "Are you sure about that?" Rodriguez asked. Before Vexitar could respond, the human ship suddenly accelerated. But this wasn't normal acceleration. The human vessels simply appeared in new positions as if they had teleported across space. "Impossible," whispered Vexitar's sensor officer. "No ship can move that fast." "All ships open fire," Vexitar commanded. The Zephyrian fleet unleashed everything they had. Plasma cannons, particle beams, and quantum torpedoes filled space with deadly energy. It was enough firepower to destroy a small moon. But when the energy blasts reached the human ships, something unexpected happened. The weapons simply stopped working. The plasma beams scattered harmlessly. The particle blasts disappeared. The torpedoes exploded before reaching their targets. "Report!" Vexitar shouted. "Sir, our weapons are having no effect," his tactical officer replied, voice shaking. "The human ships are surrounded by some kind of field that neutralizes everything we fire at them." Before Vexitar could process this information, the human ships returned fire. But their weapons were unlike anything in the Council's experience. Beams of pure energy that seemed to bend space itself struck the Zephyrian vessels. The first ship, the Honor Guard, simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there, the next it was gone. Not destroyed, not vaporized. Gone as if it had never existed at all. The second ship, Proud Wing, suffered a different fate. The human weapon hit its armor and the metal began to change. The ship's hull started eating itself, the molecular structure breaking down at the atomic level. "Retreat," Vexitar ordered, but it was too late. The human ships moved again, appearing directly beside the remaining Zephyrian vessels. At this close range, there was no escape. The Brave Star tried to ram one of the human ships. The Zephyrian vessel struck the human ship's hull and simply bounced off. Its front section crumpled like paper hitting a stone wall. Within minutes, 5 of the 6 Zephyrian ships were gone. Only Vexitar's command ship remained, and it was badly damaged. Captain Rodriguez's voice came over the communication channel again. "Captain Vexitar, you have 1 ship left. I'm going to let you live, and I'll tell you why. I want you to go back to the Council and tell them exactly what happened here. Tell them that the humans they expelled have returned. Tell them that we're not the same species they remember." "This is impossible," Vexitar gasped. "Human technology was always inferior to ours. How do you have ships like this?" Rodriguez laughed. "That's the beautiful part, Captain. We always had technology like this. We just never showed it to you. For 50 years, we let you think we were primitive and weak. We followed your rules and used your approved designs. We wanted you to underestimate us, but why?" "Because we knew this day would come," Rodriguez explained. "We knew that eventually you would decide we were too dangerous and try to get rid of us. So we prepared. While you thought you were controlling us, we were studying you, learning your weaknesses, building weapons you couldn't imagine. Vextar's ship was barely functional, but his communication system still worked. He sent an emergency message to the council, reporting what had happened. But he knew they wouldn't believe him. It sounded too impossible. "Tell me something, Captain," Rodriguez continued. "How many human ships do you think are out there right now?" "I don't know," Vextar replied. "Neither do we," Rodriguez said. "We stopped counting at 1,000, and every single one is more advanced than anything the Council has ever built." The human ships prepared to leave. But before they jumped away, Rodriguez had one final message. "Captain Vextar, the Council made a mistake when they expelled us. They thought they were removing a threat. Instead, they removed the only thing that was keeping us from taking over the galaxy. We're not here for revenge. We're here to fix things. The Council's way of doing things is broken. It's time for something new." The human ships vanished, leaving Vexatar alone among the wreckage of his fleet. News of the battle spread quickly through Council space. At first, the leadership refused to believe the reports. Humans with superior technology? Impossible. There had to be some mistake, but then more reports came in. Human ships appearing in systems across the galaxy, not attacking civilian targets or planets, but systematically destroying any Council military force they encountered. These weren't the same humans who had left a year ago. These ships were faster, stronger, and equipped with weapons that made no sense according to known physics. Ambassador Zethkar called an emergency session of the Council. In the great chamber where they had voted to expel humanity, the alien leaders gathered to discuss this new threat. "This changes nothing," Zethkar declared. "Humans are still a young species. They may have found some new weapons, but they lack the experience to use them effectively. We have fought wars for thousands of years." But privately, Zethkar was worried. The reports from the battle at Korath 4 were disturbing. How had humans developed such advanced technology so quickly? And if they had been hiding these capabilities for 50 years, what else were they hiding? Ambassador Thiss raised a concern that others were thinking but afraid to voice. "What if we made a mistake? What if the humans were holding back during their time in the Council?" "Impossible," Zethkar replied. "We monitored their technology carefully. We knew about every ship, every weapon, every research project." "Did we?" Thiss asked. "If they can build ships like this, maybe they were better at hiding things than we thought." The meeting ended without any real decisions. The Council leaders ordered their fleets to increase patrols and watch for more human incursions. They still believed this was a minor problem that could be solved with traditional military force. They had no idea that humanity had been planning this campaign for decades. They didn't know about the hidden colonies, the secret shipyards, or the spy networks that had been watching them for 30 years. Most importantly, they didn't understand that this wasn't just about technology. This was about two completely different ways of thinking about war. The Council fought according to ancient traditions and codes of honor. Humans fought to win, using any advantage they could find. The galaxy was about to learn the difference between fighting with honor and fighting with intelligence, and humanity was just getting started. 3 months after the first battle, the Galactic Council was learning that fighting humans was unlike any war they had ever experienced. The aliens were used to conflicts that followed predictable patterns. Fleets would meet in open space, fight honorable battles, and the stronger side would win. But humans didn't fight that way. General Patricia Stone stood in the command center of the human battleship revolution, watching displays that showed operations across 12 star systems. Her forces weren't trying to conquer planets or destroy cities. Instead, they were targeting something much more valuable: the invisible networks that held galactic civilization together. "Report from Strike Team 7, announced Captain Tony Mitchell, who was coordinating deep strike operations. "The hyperspace beacon at Nexus Station is offline. That cuts the main trade route between Zephyrian and Korthax space." "Excellent," Stone replied. "What about the communication relay?" "Destroyed 20 minutes ago. The Mindari can no longer coordinate their telepathic network in that sector," Stone smiled. The beauty of the human strategy was that it didn't require massive battles or huge casualties. By taking out key infrastructure, they could paralyze entire regions without firing a shot at civilian targets. On the Council homeworld of Kepler Prime, Ambassador Zethkar was discovering just how helpless the galaxy's most powerful organization had become. The great chamber where the Council met was in chaos, with representatives from dozens of species all demanding action. "My trade fleets can't reach the outer colonies," complained Ambassador Vorth of the merchant Delcani. "The humans have cut 17 hyperspace routes in the last week." "It's worse than that," added General Kexth of the Korthax military. "They're jamming our communications across half the galaxy. My forces can't coordinate with each other. Zethkar looked at the tactical display showing the current state of Council space. Red markers indicated severed trade routes, broken communication links, and disabled military installations. The network of connections that had taken thousands of years to build was falling apart. How are they doing this? Demanded Ambassador Thys. Our intelligence reports say humans only have a few hundred ships. They can't be everywhere at once. The truth was that humans weren't trying to be everywhere at once. They were using intelligence and precision instead of brute force. While Council fleets gathered to protect important worlds, human strike teams were hitting targets the aliens never thought to defend. Captain Lauren Brooks was leading one such operation at a seemingly unimportant research station in the Outer Rim. To the Council, this place was just a minor facility studying ancient artifacts, but human intelligence had discovered it was actually the central command post for the Council's spy network. "Are you sure this is the right place?" asked Lieutenant Kevin Park as their stealth ship approached the station. "It looks like a university, not a military base." "That's the point," Brooks replied. "The Council hides their most important facilities in plain sight. This station processes intelligence from every Council species. Take it out, and they'll be blind across half the galaxy." The human assault was swift and precise. Instead of destroying the station, they captured it intact. Within hours, human technicians were downloading decades of Council intelligence files. Everything the aliens knew about human activities, capabilities, and plans was now in human hands. But the real prize was access to the Council's ongoing intelligence operations. Human computers began sending false information through the alien spy network, spreading confusion and misdirection throughout Council space. Admiral Morrison, now commanding the human war effort from his flagship Determination, was coordinating operations across the entire galaxy. Unlike the Council's rigid command structure, human forces were designed to adapt quickly to changing situations. "Sir," reported Captain Rodriguez, "we're receiving a transmission from the Council. They want to negotiate." Morrison almost laughed. "After 3 months of getting hammered, they're ready to talk?" "Put them through." Ambassador Zethkar appeared on the main screen, looking much less confident than he had a year ago. The reptilian alien's usual arrogance had been replaced by obvious worry. "Admiral Morrison," Zethkar began, "the Council wishes to discuss terms for ending this conflict." "I'm listening," Morrison replied. "We are prepared to offer humanity readmission to the Council, with full voting rights and no restrictions on your military development." Morrison shook his head. "You still don't understand, do you? We're not interested in rejoining your club. We're interested in fixing the galaxy." "What do you mean?" "Your Council has maintained peace by keeping everyone weak and divided," Morrison explained. "You prevent species from advancing, you limit their technology, and you make sure no one becomes strong enough to challenge your authority. That's not peace, that's oppression." Zethkar's eyes narrowed. "The Council has maintained stability for thousands of years." "Stagnant stability," Morrison corrected. "The galaxy should be growing, exploring, advancing. Instead, you've turned it into a museum where nothing is allowed to change." Before Zethkar could respond, Morrison continued. "Here's what's going to happen. The Council as it exists now is finished. We're offering something better. A federation where species are judged by what they contribute, not how old they are or how well they follow ancient traditions." "And if we refuse?" Morrison's expression became cold. "Then you'll discover that everything we've done so far was just a warm-up exercise." The transmission ended, leaving Zethkar staring at a blank screen. Around him, the other Council members looked shocked. A year ago, humans had been a minor species begging for acceptance. Now they were dictating terms to the galaxy's oldest civilizations. Dr. Lisa Chen, now serving as humanity's chief strategic advisor, was putting the finishing touches on the next phase of operations. The first 3 months had been about demonstrating human capabilities and disrupting Council operations. Now it was time to show what humans could build, not just what they could destroy. "The reconstruction teams are ready," Chen reported to Admiral Morrison. "We can begin implementing the new systems as soon as you give the word." Morrison nodded. The human plan wasn't just about tearing down the old order. It was about replacing it with something better. Human engineers had designed new communication networks, improved hyperspace routes, and more efficient trade systems. Species that cooperated with humanity would find their lives significantly improved. "What about the resistance?" Morrison asked. "Crumbling," Chen replied. "The Vortani have already requested membership in the new federation. The Delcani are negotiating terms. Even some Zephyrian commanders are secretly talking to our representatives. The truth was that many species had grown tired of the Council's rigid control. They had watched humanity accomplish in months what the Council claimed was impossible. The old system of ancient hierarchies and unchanging traditions was losing its appeal. Captain Sarah Lopez was overseeing one of these cooperation efforts at a former Council world. Her ship, the Liberty, was working with local forces to establish a new government based on human principles. The transition is going smoothly, Lopez reported. The local population seems eager to try something new. Production is already up 30% since we removed the Council's restrictions. This was the key to the human strategy. They weren't conquering worlds or forcing species to submit. They were offering a better way of life and letting people choose for themselves. But not everyone was ready to accept change. The core Council species, the Zephyrians, Korthax, and Mindari, were gathering their remaining forces for a final battle. They believed that if they could destroy the human fleet in one decisive engagement, they could restore the old order. They were wrong about that, just as they had been wrong about everything else concerning humanity. Admiral Morrison was aware of the Council's preparations. Human intelligence networks were feeding him detailed information about enemy troop movements, fleet positions, and strategic plans. The aliens were planning exactly the kind of traditional battle they were comfortable with, a massive fleet engagement where superior numbers and ancient experience would decide the outcome. Let them come, Morrison told his staff. It's time to show them what happens when old thinking meets new reality. The final battle was approaching, and Admiral Morrison was confident in the outcome. The Council still thought this was a war between different species using similar technology. They didn't understand that this was actually a war between two completely different ways of thinking about civilization itself. The humans had already won. The Council just didn't know it yet. 2 years after humanity's departure from the Galactic Council, the galaxy looked completely different. The ancient organization that had ruled for thousands of years no longer existed. In its place was something the old Council would never have imagined, a federation where species succeeded based on merit rather than age. President Jake Morrison sat in his office on New Terra, the capital world of the Human Federation. Through his window, he could see ships from dozens of different species coming and going from the orbital stations. Zephyrian vessels worked alongside Korthax freighters. Mindari science ships shared docking bays with human exploration vessels. The quarterly reports are in, announced Dr. Lisa Chen, who now served as the Federation's Minister of Development. Trade is up 400% from pre-war levels. Scientific advancement has accelerated by factors we're still trying to measure. Morrison smiled as he reviewed the data. Removing the Council's restrictions on technology and trade had unleashed an explosion of innovation across the galaxy. Species that had been stagnant for centuries were suddenly making breakthrough discoveries. What about the resistance movements? Morrison asked. Down to scattered holdouts, Chen replied. Most of the die-hard Council loyalists have retreated to the outer rim. They're not really a threat anymore. More like angry old-timers complaining about change. The transformation hadn't been easy or quick. After the Council's military forces were defeated in the final battle at Kepler Prime, humanity had faced the enormous task of rebuilding galactic civilization. Many species had initially resisted human leadership, viewing them as conquerors rather than liberators, but humans had proven themselves through actions rather than words. Instead of exploiting their victory, they had immediately begun sharing advanced technology with former enemies. Instead of imposing human culture on other species, they had created a system where different civilizations could maintain their identities while working together. Captain Sarah Lopez was overseeing one such cooperation project in the former Zephyrian home system. Her job was helping the proud warrior species adapt to a galaxy where conflicts were resolved through negotiation rather than combat. How are they adjusting? Asked Commander Ryan Turner, who was visiting from another assignment. Better than expected, Lopez replied. Once they realized that the new system actually rewards competence and achievement, most Zephyrians embraced it. Their military skills are incredibly valuable for exploration and peacekeeping missions. This was the key insight that had made the Federation successful. Instead of trying to eliminate the traits that made each species unique, humans found ways to channel those traits constructively. Zephyrian warriors became explorers and peacekeepers. Korthak's strength was used for construction and engineering. Mindari telepathy helped with communication and diplomacy. On the research station at Wolf 359, Dr. Marcus Webb was working with alien scientists on projects that would have been impossible under the old council system. The laboratory combined human innovation with Mindari mental abilities and Vortani mathematical genius. The new hyperspace theories are showing remarkable results, Webb explained to his mixed species team. By combining our different approaches to physics, we're discovering principles that none of our species could have found alone. Engineer Kelly Davis nodded enthusiastically. The prototype drives are testing at speeds 50 times faster than anything the Council ever achieved. We could explore the entire galaxy within a generation. This collaborative approach to science was producing breakthroughs at an unprecedented rate. Medical advances were extending lifespans for all species. New technologies were solving problems that had plagued the galaxy for millennia. Agricultural improvements were ending hunger on dozens of worlds. But perhaps the most important change was philosophical. The Council had been built on the idea that the galaxy needed to be controlled and managed by ancient, wise civilizations. The Federation was based on the belief that progress came from freedom, competition, and the exchange of ideas. Admiral Susan Hayes was commanding the Federation's exploration fleets, which were mapping regions of space the Council had never bothered to investigate. Her ships discovered new species almost every month, and each one was invited to join the growing alliance. "We've made contact with the Zerathi," Hayes reported to President Morrison during their weekly briefing. "They're a technological species that's been hiding from the Council for 2,000 years. They're very interested in joining the Federation." What were they afraid of? The Council's restrictions, Hayes explained. The Zerathi had developed advanced artificial intelligence, which the Council considered dangerous. So they've been hiding in dark space, afraid to reveal themselves. Morrison shook his head. How many other species did the Council drive into hiding? How much knowledge and potential was wasted because of their fear of change? It was a question that haunted many Federation leaders. The galaxy was much larger and more diverse than the Council had ever admitted. Dozens of species had been living in isolation, afraid to reveal themselves to an organization that punished innovation and restricted development. Captain Alex Rodriguez was leading one of the teams working to contact these hidden civilizations. His ship, the Vengeance, had been converted from a warship into an exploration vessel equipped with the most advanced communication and translation systems humanity could build. First contact with the Nethys went well, Rodriguez reported. They're aquatic beings who developed biotechnology instead of mechanical systems. Their ships are actually living creatures that can repair themselves and adapt to different environments. Are they interested in joining? Morrison asked. Very much so. They've been watching the Federation's growth through their own intelligence networks. They like what they see. This was happening across the galaxy. Species that had been suppressed, ignored, or driven into hiding by the Council were emerging to join the Federation. Each one brought new perspectives, technologies, and capabilities that made the alliance stronger. But the Federation wasn't perfect, and Morrison knew it. Building a truly galactic civilization was incredibly complex, and there were frequent disagreements about policies, territories, and resource allocation. We're getting complaints from some of the newer members, Chen reported during one of their meetings. They think the human colonies get preferential treatment in trade negotiations. Are they right? Morrison asked. In some cases, yes, Chen admitted. Old habits die hard. Some of our negotiators still think like humans first and Federation citizens second. Morrison nodded. This was an ongoing challenge. Humans had to learn to share power and authority with species they had only recently been at war with. It required a level of trust and cooperation that was difficult, but necessary. The solution was typical of the Federation's approach to problems: more transparency, better communication, and constant adjustment of policies based on feedback, instead of trying to impose rigid rules from above. The Federation adapted its structure to meet the needs of its diverse membership. Captain Lauren Brooks was working on one such adaptation, developing new legal frameworks that could handle disputes between species with completely different concepts of law and justice. The challenge is finding common ground, Brooks explained to a mixed committee of legal experts. How do you resolve a conflict between a species that values individual rights and another that prioritizes collective harmony? The answer, they were discovering, was to focus on outcomes rather than processes. Instead of trying to make every species follow the same legal procedures, the Federation worked to ensure that all members were treated fairly and had their basic needs met. 5 years after the war began, Morrison was meeting with a very different group of leaders than those who had expelled humanity from the Council. Former Ambassador Zethkar was there. but now he held a minor position in the Federation's diplomatic corps. Former enemies had become colleagues, working together on challenges that affected the entire galaxy. The integration process is nearly complete, reported Minister Chen. 97% of the former Council worlds have joined the Federation. The remaining holdouts are mostly uninhabited systems or research stations. What about the exploration programs? Morrison asked. Admiral Hayes smiled. We've cataloged over 3,000 new worlds suitable for colonization. The population pressure that caused conflicts under the Council system is no longer a problem. There's room for everyone to grow. This abundance of space and resources had eliminated many of the sources of conflict that had plagued the galaxy under Council rule. Species that had fought over limited territories now had entire star systems to develop. Competition still existed, but it was focused on achievement rather than survival. Morrison looked around the meeting room at faces representing dozens of different species. A year ago, most of these beings had been enemies of humanity. Now they were partners in building something better than any of them could have achieved alone. The Federation isn't perfect, Morrison said as the meeting concluded. We make mistakes, we have disagreements, and we're constantly learning how to do things better. But that's the point. We're not trying to preserve some ancient perfect system. We're trying to build something new that can grow and adapt as we do.